Hey guys, welcome back. Aaron here with AGP Cars again. Today now was a very good day in the world of Formula 1 as it was the first day of pre-season testing at Jerez. Now this sort of signifies the start of the season again. We see all the cars back out on track and get a sort of a sense of who's doing well and who has improved over the winter and so forth. So, starting off, 7 cars ran in Jerez on the first day, which of course was Sunday, the 1st of February. Now, there's only 9 teams on the grid this year, after the loss of Marussia and Caterham at the end of 2014. And then out of those 9, 2 of the teams were not at the first day of the test. One being Force India, who have said that they will skip the whole first test in Jerez completely and just run in Barcelona, presumably working more on the car for this year and getting more development done kind of before they put it on the track for the first time. And then the other team being Lotus, who planned to be at Jerez, but the car was not finished in time, and it was actually flown out today on the 1st of February, and it landed in Spain today. So it's there now, but they're expected not to run until day 3, of course being a 4-day test. So starting off with what actually happened on the track, and well, the fastest of the day was Sebastian Vettel in the Ferrari, and I have to say I was kind of shocked. But then I looked back at what happened here a year ago in 2014, and it was Raikkonen in the Ferrari who was fastest on the first day. And so I don't know if that's kind of some trend now, some trend with new Ferrari drivers being quickest on the first day of pre-season testing, but that's the way it seems to be now. Vettel made a point of being the first man on track in the 2015 season. Rosberg actually got out of the pits ahead of him, but then Rosberg stopped at the end of the pits for a practice start. While he was doing that, Vettel managed to nip round the outside of him and managed to be out on track first. So that's kind of a thing, and I know of course Sebastian kind of has a thing about like small things like that. I know he's kind of a statistics man. He always wants to get the fastest lap and the last lap and all this kind of stuff, so those kind of things are important to him, and he managed to do that. So he was fastest on a 1:22.6, and that is actually 5 seconds faster than Raikkonen's fastest time on day 1 in 2014. So relevant to a year ago at the same time, and in the same team actually as well. It's 5 seconds a lap faster at the moment, and this is only on the very first day of the whole season. I mean, over the Jerez test last year, they improved a lot, and I think it was down into the 1:23s. So they're already past what they were doing in the 4th day in Jerez last year. And that really shows what how they've learned from the 2014 car and how faster this year will be in terms of the cars. Obviously, the engines have had huge redevelopment now. They're practically new engines, and then of course the aero as well. Some very interesting aero bits on some cars, and that they're all kind of starting to take advantage now of what they can do with the rules. Vettel then also completed 60 laps. The laps is another thing. We'll get down to Rosberg there in a minute, but this in Jerez last year in 2014, on the first day, the most amount of laps done by anyone was 31 by Raikkonen in the Ferrari. And I know Hamilton did crash on the first day with a brake failure, and if he hadn't, he probably would have been faster and would have done more laps. But, things happen, and so that shows as well. Vettel did almost twice the amount of laps that Raikkonen did last year, and went a hell of a lot faster. So huge improvements we can see in the cars of 2015 already. And it was also a pretty straightforward day for Vettel. They haven't had many. Ferrari haven't had many problems yet so far, and yeah, so they're actually looking quite strong. I know, like the times don't really mean anything in these pre-season tests, but it's always a bit of an encouragement, I suppose, if you're on top of the timesheets at the end of the day. So then second was Marcus Ericsson in the newly liveried Sauber, which I also love, by the way. And that was also really impressive, because Sauber last year did not score a single point, and they had some reliability issues, and the car just simply was crap. They didn't. It was just really atrocious, and the Ferrari engine let them down a few times, and the aero was just all over the place. And so that is a promising start, managing 73 laps and a pretty non-problematic day there in the Sauber garage, which would be a real boost to that team, who really, really need a strong season now. Now we move on to Mercedes. Right, Mercedes. Rosberg in the car today. I think Hamilton's in it tomorrow. A bit off the pace, half a second, but that doesn't really mean anything. The important part here, 157 laps. I'll just let that sink in there for a minute. 157 laps on the first day of the whole season's testing. 157. Now that is quite astonishing. And I know a lot of people think, well, that's basically the same car. They haven't had to change anything, because last year's car was so good. They'll just arrive here with the same car and it'll be perfect. Well, it's not. This car is all the cars are practically brand new, with effectively a new engine, all new electronical crap, and brand new aero. And that is just simply astonishing. They had almost 50 laps by lunchtime, when I think the other highest was like 10 or something. It's just simply brilliant. That team, well, is almost certainly the champions of the 2015 Formula 1 World Championship, both drivers and the constructors. But just to see that, I mean, it's an engineering feat. That is just astonishing. There's nothing really else I can say. They didn't have any problems really. It was just Rosberg in the car, on the track, and set quick lap times all day. And then we move on to Red Bull. Red Bull launched their car earlier, although many suspect it's not actually the car, the actual RB11, and that many things, including especially the front nose, will change as the season goes on. Even tomorrow, some speculations are that on the second day in Jerez, they'll have a brand new nose cone like that of the Lotus and the Mercedes. So, I don't know, that'll be interesting to see. The most interesting thing I suppose we can see is the camouflage they have on the car. They've gone for a sort of zebra effect. I don't know what you can even say about it, but they still have the bull on the back in black this time instead of red. Black and white car, so I don't know when they're going to I don't know what their plan is like. I don't know if they're trying to hide a big aero secret they have somewhere, or this might be the new livery of the Red Bull. Who knows? You have to ask Horner and Newey about that. So that'll be interesting to see, I suppose. What Ricardo did today. So Ricardo was in it 1:23.3, a bit off the pace. That doesn't mean anything, of course. 35 laps. they had a few issues now. There was some smoke coming out of the engine before lunch, but then they fixed that, and then they had another mechanical issue in the second half. So that kind of, the Renault engine still isn't as good, or still isn't as reliable. They haven't improved it perfectly yet. There's still some small faults there apparently. So yeah, that's it there. Valtteri Bottas was in the Williams today. The Williams also unveiled their car at the beginning of the day, as did Mercedes actually. I forgot to mention that. But Williams released photos. Actually, they were the first team to release photos. They just nipped Force India. It was actually on the morning of the launch of the Force India, when everyone was in Mexico waiting for the unveiling of their car. Williams came out on Twitter, I think, and just showed 3 or 4 photos of their new car. So they were really the first to sort of show the world what it was going to be. But they actually launched it this morning in Jerez, with Massa, Bottas. Susie Wolff is now the test and reserve driver, and then I think Alex Lynn, I think is his name. He's just after being kind of implied as their development driver. So what did Williams do today? They did a 23.9, so nothing spectacular in lap times, but joint second top in laps with 73, joint with Sauber. So another good day for them in terms of laps. They got off to a bit of a slow start, so obviously not everything was ready early this morning, but once they kind of had everything sorted out and they got the car out on the track, it's just started to pound around, and they did a couple of long runs, I think. I'm not too sure, but things certainly looking good for Williams with 73 laps under their belt already. Then we go down to Toro Rosso, being the only other team besides Red Bull with the Renault engine. Carlos Sainz Jr. was in the car today. This was his first on-track experience in F1, or I don't know. He might have done a few young driver tests last year, but this was his first official. This was the first session he had as an actual driver in a team. So that's that. And 46 laps. The time wasn't really anywhere in comparison to the others. Toro Rosso are targeting 5th in the constructors this year, so they obviously feel that they've found a lot of time over the winter break. And well, I don't know if they certainly weren't anywhere near 5th last year. So this year, I don't know. Well, they could be, because they were a good team. If you remember back to 2007 and 2008, when Vettel was in the team, and they even won a race, of course, in Monza 2008 with Sebastian Vettel. So, well, I'd certainly like to see them back up into the midfield and high midfield, and I think the car looks great this year. But they did have some issues this on the first day. Carlos Sainz only the second slowest time, but he did stop on track then quite late in the day, which caused a red flag, one of only 2 today, which was also quite good. So, I mean, there's not really, you can't say they had a great day, but well, it wasn't a bad day anyway. 46 laps it was fantastic if it was this time last year, but certainly it seems as though Toro Rosso do have a little bit of work to do in terms of reliability, again showing that the Renault engine isn't quite there yet. Then Alonso, this is 7th place. Fernando Alonso gave the McLaren its first outing. So yeah, McLaren is a bit of an interesting one here, because they arrived at the track in the trucks, and the trucks had no markings on them. They didn't have any McLaren logos, no writing on them at all. So a lot of people thought, oh well, that might mean there's a new livery on the car. But then they took the car out of the truck, put it in the garage, took the covers off, and it was the same livery we saw at the unveiling, which is disappointing. Because I have to say that I feel that the silver is kind of reserved for the Mercedes, and when they had the Mercedes engine, that was perfectly fine for them to have silver. But now they have Honda, and Honda is not someone you associate with silver. It's orange and red and all. So then on Twitter then, after the testing had stopped, McLaren put up something to say that Ron Dennis has confirmed that the livery will change, and that it will either be orange or red. And they put up a thing to say retweet for orange and favourite for red and all this. So I don't know if it'll be like a public vote, if they'll go off that, or if they'll just make up their own mind. I'd say it's already done, and they're just seeing what people will think of it. But they only managed 6 laps. A lot of, and you see, this is it, because McLaren Honda now are going through what all the other teams went through last year. All the other teams now have the experience of last year and know what to expect from this type of power unit and the new type of aero and how it works and all together. So McLaren are only learning this now, and that really showed, because Alonso only managed 6 laps, and only one of those laps was timed, and it was a 1:40. And a lot of journalists, I know Ted Kravitz especially, pointed out that the car doesn't sound as refined as the others. It sounds more kind of raw, and that almost like it was misfiring a bit. It wasn't quite as smooth as the others, and that it didn't sound as finished. The engine itself didn't sound as it should. So we don't really know if that's just the way the Honda sounds, or if there's something not quite right. But I mean, only 6 laps. They had some pretty big issues, and they went out on track. Alonso just sort of tippy-toed around for 6 laps, and then they realised, okay, we've got a lot of work to do here. So, well, it'll be interesting to see anyway how they kind of evaluate kind of what they're doing there, and kind of get on a development track over the next few days at Jerez. But that's all that happened there today. I look forward to seeing what happens tomorrow, and I'll be sure to make another video analysing what happened from day 2. So thanks for listening. All the usual crap, like, comment, and subscribe, and follow me on Twitter if you want to, which of course you do. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for listening.